A Philadelphia judge today refused to dismiss murder charges against a fundamentalist Christian couple whose infant son died from pneumonia. When their baby got sick in April, Herbert and Catherine Scheibel didn't call a doctor or seek any kind of medical treatment. They prayed. This case would be tragic even if the facts ended there, but they don't. This is not the first time the Scheibels have been charged in the death of one of their children. They've relied on faith healing before with disastrous results. Here's Gary Tuckman.
At this North Philadelphia cemetery, most of the graves are marked, but not this spot, where two small children are buried. Two children who would be alive today, say authorities, if their parents gave them medical care. Herbert and Catherine Scheibel are charged with third-degree murder following the death of their 8-month-old son, Brandon, this spring.
Instead of caring and nurturing him, they ultimately caused his death by praying over his body instead of taking him to the doctor.
And unbelievably, this isn't the first time this has happened to the Scheibels. In 2009, their 2-year-old son, Kent, died. The parents did not seek medical care to treat him.
I tried the previous case 2.5 years ago, and the circumstances to that case to this case are eerily similar.
In the first case, the Scheibels were found.
Like, seriously, do you think this should be a form of child abuse or child neglect, not getting your kids medical attention?
Go ahead. Absolutely, it's child abuse. Then not feeding your child and letting them die that way. You're in charge of taking care of your child, and that is definitely abuse if you're not going to give them medical attention when they're sick.
And what's your opinion, John?
I think that it's kind of a complicated issue, to be honest, because it is child abuse from an objective standpoint. It is child abuse, but also you also have to take into consideration what kind of environment these parents were brought up in. While it is child abuse, they were brought up in an abusive environment, which does not give them the right or an excuse for it, because obviously this has happened before, and this is the second time it's happened in this particular clip. But you also have to consider that the parents themselves have been abused also. So I mean, they don't really. I guess at the time they didn't realize that it was child abuse. Kind of like how we look back now at the 1950s at how parents treated their children, and it's like, yeah, that was child abuse. But you know, now we know that it's child abuse. Back then, they just thought that they were doing their best as parents. And so I think what it really shows to me is these fundamentalist Christian groups, just how dangerous that belief can be, because, like, you know, they believe that if you pray enough, you know, stuff will be healed and cured and whatnot, which is not true at all in any sense, but they believe it so wholeheartedly they bet their child's life on it. I mean, I can't think of anything that I would bet my child's life on right now. I would bet my child's life on, you know, doctors and whatnot, like actual medical help. But, you know, I wasn't brought up in an abusive religious environment. You know, so I mean, I think that my point to get across here is that there's two sets of victims in this whole thing, two sets of abuses. You've got the child who's obviously abused and died. There's that, and then there's also the parents who were themselves abused and caused their child's death because of that abuse.
Okay. I was going to say that I took a child abuse class in college because I have a bachelor's of science in psychology. And in my child abuse class, I remember my professors telling us that in the state of New Hampshire where I live, that no parent can be charged with child abuse and neglect if it's for religious reasons. And believe me, that's a law in New Hampshire, and I don't agree with it, because just because you have a religion and just because you believe in God, you should not put your child at risk like that. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I know when my daughter was sick, I would take her to the hospital and I would get her medical attention. I'm sure as hell not going to pray that my daughter gets better when she's ill.
Well, yeah, true, Rob, but I mean, you weren't brought up in this fundamentalist religious background. Like you weren't abused into thinking that prayer actually works.